what are the things that you might have a skill set that you brought from a previous career? It might be marketing, it might be accounting, it might be HR. And then you've got the design education that you're getting. But what are the gaps between your previous experience, your current education that you're getting at design school? What is the bit in the middle that you don't have? And for everyone, it'll be different because everyone's coming to it with different backgrounds and experience. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Thursday episode of the Design Dialogues podcast. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about something that we talked about in our Tuesday episode with Laura, and that was around her experience of moving from kind of design school into working for a big design firm and then moving into working for herself. And I think it's something so often that especially people who might come to interior design as a second or a third career really kind of struggle with a little bit in terms of how do they gain the experience of interior design and work? How do you learn the skills that you need from a business perspective as well as a design perspective? And then usually when you come to, interior design as a second or third career, you're slightly older, you might have family commitments, or you need a little bit more flexibility in your roles. And so that navigating that path from while you're sitting in design school and working out how to, what is that first step in your career? It can be quite tricky, and it can be more complicated if you are at a different stage of your life. And I think one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today is actually becoming really clear on what you want and what the kind of work you want to do. It's not always straightforward, and it's not always what you think you want at the start is not always what you want to do at the end of the process or halfway along. And so one of the things that I think, Laura talked a lot about is that she went from design school, or even while she was at design school, and went to work for Gensler. And Gensler is a really big multinational interior design firm that works on, if you've stayed in any big hotels, you would have stayed in a Gensler room. They do a lot of work for the big hotel chains, the big, hospitality projects, as well as some residential work. But it is a big, big design firm. It's very much a corporate design firm. They work across the health sector, the education sector. And it's very different from the kind of, I suppose, the residential sector, which a lot of designers sit in. And one of the things that I think she said so well is that it became so evident very quickly that she was a long way away from actually making decisions around design and creative, and that she was very much just making things happen. She was a cog. She was a cog in the wheel, and she was, learning those skills, which are great and really helpful. But if you don't have a long runway on your career, or you have other needs that mean that you need to be earning a certain amount, or you need time flexibility, or you're just really wanting to be closer to the creative part of the process, then maybe moving into a large corporate design firm isn't the right step for you. The problem is so often at our design schools, we are actually really a lot of them are geared towards people working in those as their first job. And that can sometimes be really tricky because we get a lot of information in our design training about the fundamentals of design, but we don't always get a lot of training around the fundamentals for business. And what I see happening so often is designers who have come to design as a second or third career, they are going through design school. They realize that moving into a larger corporate design firm is not going to work for them. They are at a stage in their life where they want to be making, creative decisions, and they don't necessarily want to start from the bottom again in terms of, working up the corporate ladder. But they also need flexibility for their family. They might be caring for aging parents. So they just need more flexibility than what being a junior in a big corporate will give them. And so then the natural progression then is to go and either work for someone else in a smaller firm or work for yourself. And both of them are great options, but both of them also come with, I think, a gap in knowledge. So unless you have previously worked in a small business, sometimes coming to small business can be really eye-opening. And so as a new designer, you're also trying to work out how you do your design process, but you're also then trying to do your business process. So one of the things that I really wanted to kind of flesh out today was a little bit about, if you are at that point and you've come to the end of you might be in your second or third year of education training, and you might be wanting to investigate what your next steps are, then I would love for you to have a think about, what are the gaps in your education around business? What are the things that you might have a skill set that you brought from a previous career? It might be marketing, it might be accounting, it might be HR. And then you've got the design education that you're getting. But what are the gaps between your previous experience, your current education that you're getting at design school? What is the bit in the middle that you don't have? And for everyone, it'll be different, because everyone's coming to it with different backgrounds and experience. So if you were deciding to go into small business from you finish your design training and you're going into small business, the best thing that you can do is think, okay, you've identified those gaps. And it might be that you're like, I don't have a strong background in marketing. I understand you might come from maybe a more financial background or something, and you're like, I kind of got the finance stuff sorted. I've got a strong relationship with an accountant, but the sales and marketing side, I'm not really strong on at all. And so that would be something that I would be trying to find guidance and education on at the same time as I was doing my design education. So things like possibly, and there are so many resources out there now which you can do, but looking at what is going to be my sales pipeline, what is going to be my leads, how am I going to gather leads, am I going to look at social media advertising, am I growing my social media following, am I going to do some local events, am I going to try and tie in with a local tile store or a local maybe curtain store. What is my sales and marketing process, and what does that look like? And if that is a gap in your knowledge, while you are sitting at design school, learning about design, I would also be looking at learning about sales and marketing. Because really, if you are moving from design school into opening your own business, or even if you might be doing a bit of a hybrid model where you are doing a few days for a designer and then also doing a few days on your own business, taking that time while you're at design school to really round out your knowledge, to really kind of see, okay, what are all the gaps that I have and how can I at least get a base level knowledge on all of them, is really going to set you up for success when you do come to opening your own studio. So I hope I've given you a few things to think about today. And really, I just want to challenge you to go, if you are opening your own studio, what are those knowledge gaps that you have? Think about it, identify it, and then start moving into action and slowly learning how to fill those gaps. It might be that you do some formal training alongside your design education. It might be that you hire a specific coach in that area to help you. There are so many resources out there these days on the internet and everything like that, that you can at least get a basic understanding. But the first step in it is actually really acknowledging that it is a gap in your knowledge and that it is something that you're going to need extra help with. I hope you found this helpful, and I really look forward to seeing you for our next Design Dialogue.
That's it for today's episode. I hope this gave you some fresh ideas and motivation to refine how you run your studio. But here's the thing, having the right strategies is one thing, actually implementing them is another. And if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or just unsure where to start, that's exactly what my Systems and Processes Health Check is for. It's a one-on-one deep dive into how your studio runs, pinpointing where things are working, where they're not, and giving you a clear roadmap to streamline your processes. And the thing is, my health check is different from other mentoring out there. We don't just talk, we put together clear, actionable items that I hold you accountable for, because I want to make sure that at the end of the health check, you see a real difference in your business. Imagine having a studio that runs smoothly, where you're in control, and where you can finally focus on the design work that you love. If that sounds like exactly what you need, head to the website to book in your health check today. Thanks for tuning in, and if you found this episode helpful, share it with a fellow designer who could use these insights too. See you for our next Design Dialogue.